we are quite in a very precarious situation. And previously, we had the chronic underfunding to the Rural Electrification Master Plan, because the most important document which is used to mentor our activities in the energy sector is called the Rural Electrification Master Plan, which was launched in 2003, and it requires $50 million every year. But the funding was pathetically low until after change of government, when we saw funding reaching almost $50 million. Predominantly, we have been depending on hydro, and so our arbitrage has been around water bodies. And so we've been taught a lot of lessons, so we are trying to diversify. But the big challenge is how to handle the more than 60% that depend on fossil fuel, especially charcoal.
So you mentioned that the country is largely dependent on hydropower generation to boost electricity supply. How has climate change affected your power generation plans when it comes to hydro?
So when you have challenges of rainfall, then you have inadequate water in the reservoirs, and so you have to start rationing. So what we've noted is that this climate change is causing too much evaporation from our water bodies. It is also causing a lot of erratic rainfall, patterns, such that with some droughts, So you find that we don't have enough useful water in the Kariba, in the Kafue. So you've got to start rationing the water for production and plunging the country into load management or power load shedding, so to speak.
Zambia is also looking into power purchase agreements with different power utilities from inside Zambia and also outside. Can you shed more light about those plans?
The power industry in Zambia has predominantly been dominated by our power utility company, public utility company, ZESCO, which is a dominant power supplier and also generation. We realize that to come up with to industrialize, we need to open the market. And this was the beginning of the energy sector reforms, so that instead of even having only one player, can we start having more private players participating. But these private players have faced a lot of challenges because of the way the structure of the industry was. When you have an independent power producer builds up a generation capacity, we don't want them also to be building their own transmission lines, cutting the whole country. We want to see a situation where some transmission lines can be declared a common carrier.
Let's look at our neighbor, South Africa, which is Africa's most industrialized economy. With a title like that, we often expect more. But right now, South Africa is going through one of its worst energy crises in years. People are going without electricity for up to 12 hours a day, which obviously is going to affect the economy. What recommendations would you make for South Africa in order to deal with this crisis?
I think the integrated energy resource plan, which you have had sight, is a commendable tool, but it is going to call for patience, because you have to refurbish some of the existing infrastructure, which will still take time. You'll have to reinvest in some, but you are investing at a time that there is so much backlash from the climate change ambassadors who want Africa to migrate, to cleaner pathways. And when I look at South Africa, the asset base that could be stranded in a hastily done transition could be tragic. It can destroy and ruin the economy. So the push to the energy transition must be just. It must be just. And each country must be given its own opportunity to develop its space. because it is not going to be easy for some countries that almost 100% depend on thermal to migrate them to other forms of energy